Hey everybody, Aaron Rift here from NoDQ.com to talk about the worst Attitude Era moments in history. A lot of these moments get overlooked because the Attitude Era was very highly regarded and people have fond memories of that period. But there were some really bad moments, and I asked people on Facebook and Twitter for their input, and I've come up with a list here. Right away, I want to get two moments out of the way. First is the death of Owen Hart. Obviously, a lot of people mention this as the worst Attitude Era moment, but it also wasn't part of the show, so it's kind of in a different category. But certainly, probably the worst moment in wrestling history for a lot of fans, myself included, when that whole Owen Hart thing went down. And the other incident is the Katie Vick storyline. A lot of people mention this, but I don't really consider that part of the Attitude Era. In my opinion, the Attitude Era ended around WrestleMania 17, and then once the Invasion got going, and then the brand extension, you were in a different period. So I wouldn't really consider that part of the Attitude Era. Now, let's get to some moments that were clearly part of the Attitude Era, and we're talking about 1997 through 2001. Let's start off with Meat and PMS. Just a really cheesy storyline and faction. I guess Meat was the sex slave of the Pretty Mean Sisters, and that was just a terrible gimmick, Meat. I mean, Test beat Meat, and get the joke. I mean, it was just really dumb. Val Venus getting his penis chopped off. Choppy Choppy is pee-pee. A lot of people name this as the worst Attitude Era moment, but I was actually very entertained by this segment. I loved Yamaguchi-san and the bringing in John Wayne Bobbitt, the guy who got his penis chopped off in real life. I was entertained by this. I mean, it was really corny and stupid humor, but I enjoyed it. Big Show's dad dying of cancer. Wow, you exploit people having cancer for a storyline. I mean, that's just bad right there. But we did get a couple of memorable moments out of this storyline. Big Boss Man reading a poem about Big Show's dad being dead. That cracked me up. And then, of course, the funeral with Big Show body surfing on the coffin, his father's coffin, and Boss Man driving it away. That was just hilarious. Steve Austin's heel turn at WrestleMania 17. In my opinion, this was the end of the Attitude Era, and I really feel that this was one of the worst moments of the Attitude Era, and because for years everybody was behind Stone Cold Steve Austin in his feud with Vince McMahon, and Steve Austin represented the people. Everybody wants to tell off their boss, and then to have Steve Austin join up with Vince McMahon, it was like a slap in the face to all those people. So, definitely one of the worst moments, and clearly, in my opinion, the end of that era. The Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe evening gown match. This was from King of the Ring 2000, and I guess somebody thought that this was a good idea, but it was just brutal to watch. It was just awful. Nobody wants to see two old guys battling in their underwear, except Vince McMahon, I guess. I'm sure Vince was very entertained by it, but he was probably the only one. And speaking of Vince, Vince McMahon revealed as the higher power. A storyline that didn't really make a whole lot of sense, just Vince McMahon randomly being the guy that was aligned with The Undertaker all along. The one entertaining thing about this was Vince, the reveal. Vince takes off the hood and he says, "It's me, Austin, it was me all along," and then JR says, "Oh, son of a bitch." That was great stuff, and as I mentioned earlier, because it was the Attitude Era, people were still entertained by it, and they overlooked the fact that it didn't really make any logical sense. That was how things were during that period. The right to censor. I mean, I can understand WWE wanting to have a faction like this to play off on real life, where they were getting in trouble with the PTC, and they decided to make this faction of people that were against the filth and the Attitude Era stuff. So I don't blame WWE for trying to do a storyline like this, but it basically killed the careers of Val Venus and The Godfather. I mean, those guys were really over with the fans, and then you made them the Good Father, and I don't even know what they were calling Val Venus, but I mean, it just ruined those characters, and it was annoying. The theme music was really annoying. You know, I felt like it was more something you want to change a channel for rather than, you know, entertain. Say, oh, boo, you guys suck. It's like, I don't even want to watch this. Rikishi's heel turn. Um, this was a huge disappointment. You know, Steve Austin got run down in the storyline and was, you know, in real life he had the neck surgery, so he was out of action for about a year. And, you know, there was a lot of different opinions about who would be the guy behind the attack. And when it was Rikishi, it just made no sense because Rikishi hadn't even debuted in WWE when Austin was run down. And, you know, like The Godfather and Val Venus, this was a storyline that that really hurt Rikishi's character because he was extremely over with Too Cool. And why would you just kill his momentum by turning him heel all of a sudden? So this was a big flop, no doubt about it. Mae Young showing her puppies. This was at the 2000 Royal Rumble. And, you know, I guess it was kind of funny, but I think people were more grossed out by it than anything else. You know, once again, I think it's something that Vince thought was really funny, but I don't know if anybody else found it funny. And speaking of stuff that Vince finds funny that nobody else finds funny, Mae Young giving birth to a hand. This was, you know, she was pregnant. This was so absurd. And, you know, it's kind of funny, but then the whole hand thing was just the lamest punchline ever. And WWE likes to act like it was one of the great Attitude Era moments, but it actually got among the most votes here for the worst moment of the Attitude Era, oddly enough. Naked Minion. This was just a really stupid gimmick. I mean, it seems like WWE was never able to figure out what to do with this guy. I mean, they had him as Phineas Godwin, and then they had him as part of Southern Justice, and then part of Undertaker's ministry, and now he's running around wearing nothing but a fanny pack. Once again, the whole streaker gimmick was just dumb, and it was just, you know, the sooner it ended, the better. Undertaker trying to embalm Steve Austin. There were some cool aspects of the Undertaker's character, but there were some storylines that were just so ridiculous, and basically trying to murder somebody in a storyline. I think that's pushing it a little bit too far. You know, trying to embalm Austin alive. Where's the police here? I mean, it's really, you know, it's one thing if the guy tries to hurt somebody really bad in the ring during a match or whatever, or after a match, but doing something in a mortuary with, you know, where there should be police around, I mean, it was just definitely too much. Pink slip on a pole match. These matches were just lame. Anything with a pole was lame, and we can all credit Vince Russo for the pole matches. I think just the pole matches in general were really dumb. And, you know, the whole thing of a guy being fired, you know, I remember one with Mankind and The Rock, and Mankind was back literally 2 weeks later. So, I mean, it was just dumb, and it really hurt that stipulation where somebody loses, they lose their job. You know, that just killed that stipulation dead. Beaver cleavage. One of the most infamous failed gimmicks during the Attitude Era. Just something that didn't work at all. They had the vignettes and they were really lame, and I think he had like 1 or 2 matches, and that was it. And they quickly dropped the character. Kennel from Hell. Perhaps the most well-known bad match from the Attitude Era. Just a disaster. They had Big Boss Man and Al Snow feuding over a dog. Big Boss Man fed the dog to Al Snow, and I by the way, I found that stuff to be entertaining. But the match, yeah, basically you had a bunch of dogs surrounding a Hell in a Cell cage, and the dogs decided to relieve themselves on live pay-per-view. So I mean, that was really the highlight of that match, and I don't know if you can call that a highlight exactly. Hawk falling off the Titantron. Wow, this was so lame. WWE was doing this storyline where Hawk was falling off the wagon and was coming to the ring drunk, and then he climbed up the Titantron and was threatening to kill himself. And then you had Draws climb up and try to stop him, but then like Draws kind of touched him, and Hawk fell off the Titantron, and you see like a little stick image as if it's Hawk falling down the back of the Titantron. It looked so fake, and the announcers were all serious and acting like he was dead or whatever. And I guess they said he just had serious injuries. And that was pretty much the end of LOD in WWE. I mean, that was a really sad way for them to end their run in WWE for sure. Big Boss Man being hung. Basically a murder on live pay-per-view, although he survived being hung. And I don't even remember what their reasoning for it was, but yeah, that Hell in a Cell match with Undertaker and Boss Man was so bad, and the ending was just, who finds this entertaining? A guy literally being hung. I mean, it was just way over the top and really dumb. Vince McMahon is WWE champion. I mentioned this in another video. It was basically Vince McMahon being able to say that he won the WWE title. I mean, it felt like it was done to fuel his ego more than anything else. I mean, there was really no point in doing it other than to continue the Triple H versus Stone Cold feud. But it was just dumb. And, in general, the constant title changes, definitely a low point in the Attitude Era. I mean, there were times where the title would change almost on a weekly basis. I mean, that's how ridiculous it got. The Brawl for All in 1998. This was a concept that Vince Russo came up with, to try to have legitimate fighting in WWE and then help create a new superstar in Dr. Death Steve Williams. The whole tournament was planned out for Dr. Death to win. But then he got knocked out by Bart Gunn, and that just completely ruined WWE's plans. And it didn't work because the fans didn't care about it. They wanted to see professional wrestling. They don't want to see real fights. They want to see the scripted entertainment. And finally, the last one, Mark Henry and Sammy the Transvestite. This was one of the most infamous moments in the Attitude Era when Mark Henry looks like he's getting oral sex from this woman, but then the woman turns out to be a man. And then Mark Henry goes into the bathroom and starts puking, and his mother just happens to be at ringside. This was one of those moments that you remember, but you really don't want to remember. All right, that'll do it for my thoughts on the worst moments of the Attitude Era. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment on YouTube, youtube.com/NoDQCAW. And stay tuned to NoDQ.com for all the very latest in WWE and TNA. Thanks for watching.